to move into our next section, which is tribal youth internships and leadership opportunity. Alyssa Samoy is Chippewa Cree tribe member and also our moderator for today. She's an enrolled member of the Chippewa Cree tribe and serves through the Tribal Climate Resilience Program as the Natural Resource Specialist. She's been with the program almost 3 years after graduating from Colorado State University with her undergraduate degree in rangeland ecology with concentration on restoration ecology. Prior to her current position, she spent time interning with tribes in the BIA doing fire fuels monitoring, timber marking and scaling, and doing research on the tribal forest carbon credit market. We're really pleased that you could be here, as well as our great panelists, many of you who worked with AT&I during our internship program. As many of you know, the BIA started the Tribal Resilience Program in 2013, and then for a couple of years started an internship program, and we were very fortunate to have 2 years of that program. We have over 11 interns that came out. Some of them are here to talk to you today. And now, again, we're very pleased that the BIA has started this internship program. Thanks so much, Alyssa, and all the panel members. I'll turn it over to you, Alyssa, for your moderation. Thank you so much.
Naskum Tindan, Tanse, Alyssa Samoy, Nizuka-san. Thank you, Don, for the nice introduction, and thank you for the opportunity to be part of this discussion today. Hello, everyone. My name is Alyssa Samoy, and as Don mentioned, I'm a member of the Chippewa Cree tribe, coming to you from the traditional homelands of the Absaluka people, the Crow people in Billings, Montana. Today, I'll be sharing a few useful and life-changing youth opportunities available to a diverse set of eligible groups of educational programs, ages, interests, and background experience. Then I'll hand it over to 5 inspiring panelists, Indigenous women, who have experience in youth opportunities that they would like to share with you, their past that brought them here today. Following this, we'll have a roundtable discussion where I'll ask the panelists some more questions, time permitting, and we'll open it up to the chat afterwards. So please feel free to ask questions in the chat during the roundtable discussion or raising your hand and asking a question yourself. So let's get started. Next slide, please. Is anyone seeing the next slide yet? So I can just kind of start speaking and then we'll see if they can pull it up. So the first opportunity that I'd like to tell you about is the American Indian Science and Engineering Society, ASIS. A lot of you probably already know about this. They help students move forward in their educational journeys by providing a wide range of programs and scholarship opportunities. These scholarships help students acquire skills and training that will help them meet the unique STEM needs of tribal communities. To apply, you must be an ASIS member. But if you join, you can connect with a network of over 4,000 Native students and professionals who will support your journey into different STEM fields. ASIS students have easy access to a variety of scholarships available to American Indians, Alaska Natives, Native Hawaiians, Pacific Islanders, and Indigenous peoples of Canada through the online scholarship application system provided by Indigenous Education. This opportunity is great because you can create a general application profile that you can edit and use to apply for a variety of different scholarships. So it's an easy platform to use when you have a bunch of different options that you're seeking out through ASIS. The next opportunity is the Tribal Research and Education in Ecosystem Sciences, or TREES program. They provide internship opportunities and professional support to tribal students and professionals looking to advance their careers in natural resources fields. The program places college students in science-based internships with either the Bureau of Indian Affairs or tribal forestry and fire departments and other qualified partners too. What I like about this program is that it provides opportunities for continuing education to technicians and other working professionals as well. So if you're older and kind of switching fields or aren't fresh out of college, it's a program that isn't restrictive and doesn't feel like it's only just for youth. Trees works in cooperation with the Forestry Department at Salish Kootenai College on the Flathead Reservation in Western Montana, as well as other academic institutions across Indian country. Another one is the National Congress of American Indians Fellowships and Internships, which offers fellowships and internships for students and young professionals as well to earn valuable experience working with the nation's oldest, largest, and most representative organization, advocating on behalf of tribal governments. These fellowships last about 11 months, and the internships, on the other hand, are arranged on a case-by-case basis. Next slide, please.
Alyssa, I'm going to open the PowerPoint, the slideshow, and share it. Give me one moment.
Sure, thank you, Chaz. Technical difficulties are the story of our lives nowadays. We're getting pretty good at it. But there's a big team here that has really just done so much with putting everything together. And yeah, it's just awesome to see so many faces again and be involved in a virtual conference. It's worth it. Okay, so the next one that I wanted to talk about was the Doris Duke Conservation Scholars Program. The University of Washington is partnering with the Northwest Climate Adaptation Science Center and the affiliated tribes of Northwest Indians to host the Doris Duke Conservation Scholars Program internships. Funding for these internships directly supports students who are pursuing a career in conservation. They currently have a long distance or a distance learning program in place for students of cross-cultural backgrounds and perspectives, and they come from as far as the islands of Guam to the coastlines of Maine, who want to pursue their passion for nature conservation and environmental justice. Students are ideally at the beginning of their studies at a four-year college or university, but students at two-year colleges can also be considered on a case-by-case basis. It's really important to note that applicants don't necessarily need to be in natural resources majors for this program. They just need to be interested in nature and wildlife conservation from any majors. This is super cool because it broadens the conservation mindset in a variety of different fields. These applications are usually open November to February timeframe, so this next round will be open later on in the year. And then lastly, I'll mention, give a little toot toot to the BIA Pathways program. The BIA Workforce Planning and Development recruits and coordinates the Pathways program interns. The Pathways supports a ton of different fields for tribal work: forestry, wildland and fire, agriculture and rangelands, minerals and energy, real estate services, land titles and records, water and power, and tribal climate resilience internships. You can apply for these on usajobs.gov. The most recent Pathways intern job vacancy just closed March 19th for this year, but it's posted usually around this time, sometime from January to March timeframe for that following summer. Locations are nationwide. As Coral mentioned, her entire internship has been virtual, and locations are negotiable after the student has been selected. Internships are paid, and some programs offer tuition assistance as well each semester. Coming out of the Pathways Fire and Rangeland programs, I remember seeing all the other students in school really just competitively searching to find seasonal internships even after graduation that would help land them full-time jobs after many consistent seasons of experience with different entities, which, as everyone knows, is not the funnest thing, to do job hunting for years for seasonal positions. But in Pathways, you have the opportunity to gain a variety of different types of internship experiences without the stress of seeking out those different opportunities and reapplying continuously, because you maintain your status as an intern throughout the school year and into the next field season. These internship opportunities in the Pathways program landed me the job I have today, and I'm proud to be a part of the BIA Tribal Climate Resilience Program. We're hoping to build up our climate resilience team to be able to better support tribal nations and Alaska Native villages through hosting interns in our program. So please reach out to me and the Pathways coordinator, and I'll put our emails in the chat in a bit here if you'd like to learn more about interning with our program, and the Pathways coordinator email as well to ask her about the Pathways program just in general too. So first, I am honored to introduce the first panelist, Danae Sakuma. I hope I said that right. Danae is a descendant of the Confederated Tribes of Umatilla Indian Reservation. She works as an architect at Henneberry Eddy Architects, a firm in Portland, Oregon, with a focus on net positive design. She's worked on a variety of projects with ambitious sustainability goals, including an advanced manufacturing training center for PCC, an environmental education center for the Mount St. Helens Institute, and a Native specific transitional housing village for the Future Generations Collaborative. Prior to her current position, she worked as a climate change research intern with the Columbia River Intertribal Fish Commission as a designer at Akana, a Native-owned engineering firm. Danae will be speaking to the Columbia River Intertribal Fish Commission internship through AT&I's research internship program, among other experiences. Thank you, Danae. I'll hand it over to you. And can we go to the next slide for her? Thank you.
Thanks, Alyssa. Nich Pachwai, everyone. My name is Danae Sakuma, and so I'll be talking a little bit about that internship and just kind of my career path in general since then. And I wanted to start out by, as Dawn was saying, the internship that I had through AT&I, the climate change research position, placed me at the Columbia River Intertribal Fish Commission, and that really, it was a great experience. It involved a variety of things that I got to learn about. We did some policy advocacy, and then I also got to go stand in a river and catch baby salmon to sample their diet. So it really was a broad range of things, all relating to climate change, and a great experience. I think the highlight of that internship was also the tribal climate camp that AT&I has put on, and that was an opportunity to meet with different representatives from tribes all over the country and to help make tangible plans for each specific tribe, and just consider the differences in location and the importance of traditional foods and what that can mean and what that will look like with climate change. So it was interesting doing this internship. I did the internship coming out of a 5-year architecture program at the University of Oregon. And I think I got a little bit of some confused looks when I told people that I graduated from architecture and I was going to do climate change research, because I think a lot of people thought, I should go straight into an architecture job. But to me, I think it's important to recognize how interconnected the built environment is with the natural environment. And this is a really great way to dive a little deeper into that connection. And it also was how I got connected with my first job at Akana, which is a native-owned engineering firm. We got connected through the AT&I conference that I was volunteering at as an intern. So I worked there for a little, and that was great to work with tribes on different projects in Indian country. I eventually left Akana to work for an architecture firm just to be able to get more architecture hours and get my license, which was a hard decision, but it has been really great to be focused really on what my passion is, which is connecting people to nature through architecture. We occupy buildings so much throughout the day, and I think that in recent years, there hasn't been as much thought put into how to connect people with nature so much as how to protect us from it. You know, we have air conditioning and these little cubicles, and just things that really don't serve to connect us with our local ecosystems. And so I think that's one of my passions in my career, is to help fix that and really help people understand how connected we are to the natural environment. And it's important for climate change because buildings contribute to 40% of the global greenhouse gases every year. And so really this is a big chunk of what we need to be addressing. And I think there haven't been enough Indigenous voices in this field. And I think that's starting to change, but I think that it's definitely something that needs to be focused on is thinking about these traditional knowledges and how we can apply them to architecture. So yeah, that's been my journey, and it's been great just reconnecting, thinking back on, I had that internship several years ago, so it's fun to see all the connections that have been made through that and since then.
Thanks, Samoy. And I really liked your point about being able to apply traditional knowledges to different fields. So thanks for sharing those experiences with us. Considering that you've had like a pretty diverse set of experiences during your internships, what do you look for when you look for new opportunities?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think I definitely think it's important to not have a strictly linear path when you're looking for opportunities. That I think it can be really valuable to go a little out of your way to get to where you want to be. So I think when I'm looking at opportunities, I'm really looking at, is it aligned with what I'm passionate about, and will it use the skills that I have? And the combination of those two is important. And then also keeping in mind having a goal down the road. So even if it's not directly related to architecture, I think that there are a lot of opportunities that I can explore that will help me get further to helping people connect with nature through architecture. And so I think having maybe a little bit, taking a step back from your goals and really thinking about what does this goal mean, and how can I get there, maybe by going a little bit out of my way. So
that's great. That's great. Thank you. So we will transition over to Darcy Evans. She's a Karuk member of the Quartz Valley Indian Reservation in Northern California, a PhD candidate at UC Santa Cruz, and the education coordinator for the Indigenous-led and women-led organization Save California Salmon. While a student, she participated in the Klamath Basin Tribal Youth Program and served as an AT&I climate change management intern. These programs influenced her career aspirations and her decision to go to graduate school. She's currently writing her dissertation on salmon farming in Washington State and British Columbia, and is working with high school teachers and school districts in Northern California to better integrate Indigenous histories and perspectives in high school classrooms. She'll be speaking on her experiences in the Klamath Basin Tribal Youth Program and the AT&I Climate Change Program today.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for all being here today. It's really great to hear from everyone. Alyssa introduced me pretty well, and there's some information here on the slide. So I'm just gonna jump right into talking about my experiences. So I started doing culturally specific and tribal intern programs when I was about 19. And they really still continue to influence my life to this day. And I'm still involved with being an intern, kind of mentoring other interns today. So it's really been a constant throughout my life for almost a decade now. So when I was in college, I spent 2 summers doing the Klamath Basin Tribal Youth Program. And it was just so much fun, most importantly. And the first summer, we developed projects related to things like fish habitat and climate change. And then the second year, I did a project related to fire management and food security. And the goal of the program both years was really to integrate TEK with climate science and do projects that would benefit the community and the local ecosystems in some way. And so I could talk about that all day, but that really led to other experiences. Like we got to go to an ACES conference. Through those internships, we got to go to Washington, DC twice, which was so exciting at the time. And I really think it was those experiences that enabled me to even be accepted into graduate school. And then it was through one of those conferences where I met people who were involved with ATNI, and that led to me doing the climate change management internship with ATNI and the MPLCC. So it's really interesting to reflect on just how one opportunity can lead to another, and that leads to another. And so all of those things are really interconnected. And one of the things that I was thinking about when thinking about today, whether I was learning about fire management or foods or fish habitat, there really is no replacement for being outside, being in a river, being in an office, talking to people, talking to elders, and really being able to intertwine that research process with relationships and a commitment to people and a place. And through those experiences too, I was able to meet so many people who I really greatly admire, great friends and great mentors. And those are just opportunities that you would never really get in the same way just in a classroom. Yeah, and then now I'm working with high school students a little bit and working with college students. And it's kind of fun to now step into this kind of new role as an educator and as more of kind of a youth leader myself. I'm hoping now to help set up an internship program this summer for Native youth. So it's really interesting just how everything kind of comes full circle and you never really know where these experiences will lead.
Thanks so much, Darcy. Yeah, it reminds me of what Mike Derglo said earlier in We Are All Mentors. And so kind of stepping into that role is just, it's an interesting transition. And yeah, thank you so much. And in the interest of time, I'm just going to move on to the next speaker here. We have Haley K. Scott next. She's a member of the Confederated Tribes of Siletz Indians and a descendant of the Klamath tribes, Yurok tribe, and the Sakaugan Band of Chippewa Indians. Haley has a Bachelor of Arts degree in Political Science with a minor in Native American Studies from the University of Oregon. She currently works for Beyond Toxics and the Eugene Springfield National Association for the Advancement of Colored People as their climate justice grassroots organizer. Prior to this position, Haley served as a research assistant with the Pacific Northwest Tribal Climate Change Project, the Affiliated Tribes of Northwest Indians Climate Change Program, and the U.S. Forest Service. Haley is dedicated to ensuring that diverse perspectives are considered and respected in the development of climate policy, and we'll be talking about this work today. Take it away, Haley.
Cool. Thank you, Lisa, and thank you so much, everyone, for having me here today. Again, my name is Haley, and I am a member of the Confederated Tribes of Siletz Indians and a descendant of the Klamath tribes, Yurok tribes, and Sakaugan Band of Chippewa Indians. And I grew up in Southern Oregon, and when I came into this position, I learned how important it is to acknowledge who you are and where you come from. So I learned that from my internship through ATNI and the Tribal Climate Change Project. And so I just thought it'd be pretty cool to highlight that piece. And as Alyssa mentioned, I currently work as a climate justice grassroots organizer now for Beyond Toxics and the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People here in the Eugene Springfield area. And so I think I'll talk a little bit about my journey to how I got here, maybe a little bit about what I learned and just kind of what I took away from that experience and how I continue to use it today. And so I started out as a research assistant intern with the Pacific Northwest Tribal Climate Change Project and the ATNI Climate Change Program and the Bureau of Indian Affairs. And so it was like this diverse partnership that I was able to work through. For the summer of 2017, I think is when I started, and I just found it in a newsletter somewhere at the University of Oregon when I was still a student. And so before that, I really didn't have any type of inclination or I guess you wouldn't say interest in this type of work around climate change. I just never thought about it, and I never thought, you know, my experience would lead me down this path. So I applied for it because I thought it sounded interesting. It's something that I wanted to learn more about, especially as I began to understand the impacts of climate change on myself, on my family, my community, and other tribes throughout the nation. And so I went for it and I got it, and I was so lucky to get this position. So I started with the TCCP and was able to work with Kathy Lynn, who's one of the organizers here. I was able to work with the awesome team at the ATNI Climate Change Program. So working with Don and his wife, Peggy, and able to work with Chaz and John, everybody on here on the call. And so I'm really grateful for that. And so with the Tribal Climate Change Project, that's a collaborative partnership between the University of Oregon and the Environmental Studies Program, and then the USDA Forest Service Pacific Northwest Research Station. And so the project, it focuses on understanding the needs and opportunities for tribes in addressing climate change, looking at the government-to-government relationship in a climate context, and then exploring the role of traditional knowledge in climate change studies. And so I was able to jump right into it. And I had the opportunity to help update and maintain the Tribal Climate Change Guide. And I was also able to help support Kathy in keeping the network going, so the Tribal Climate Change Network. And I think that was what really helped me create the strong network and partnerships that I have today, and that I continue to try and uphold. I created a lot of friends with people, and I've been able to find such great mentors. And so, you know, all of that, I really appreciate it. And I'm so grateful that I had to, you know, that I had the opportunity to have that experience. And so during my time with the Tribal Climate Change Project, I was able to attend 2 tribal climate camps that have been talked about here so far. The first one there in 2017, I was able to meet Danae, and so it's nice to see Danae again. And then the second one, we got to go to Glacier National Park, and I was able to meet Tiana, who's going to be another panelist. And so as you can see, it allowed me to create, you know, these strong friendships, partnerships, and it's so awesome, you know, that I get to continue this work, even though I'm not a part of the ATNI Climate Change Program anymore. And so, you know, I also thought it'd be pretty cool to acknowledge when I was with the Tribal Climate Change, or at the Tribal Climate Camp at Glacier National Park, I got to serve as a facilitator for the Confederated Tribes of the Umatilla Indian Reservation delegates, 2 of which were Don's sisters. And so that was pretty cool to work with them, to learn from them, and just be able to take part in that conversation. And I was able to create another strong, you know, relationship with the tribe's climate adaptation planner. And so in my current position, a little bit more about the tribe's climate adaptation plan and their process. And so I'm getting a little bit off track, and I wanted to talk about the different ways I was able to stay on with the Tribal Climate Change Project. And so after I ended my internship with ATNI, I was able to stay on through the University of Oregon's Environmental Studies Department, and they helped fund my position for a little while. And then I was able to use the Confederated Tribes of Siletz Indians 477 self-sufficiency program. And so they helped fund my position for a little bit longer, which was great. And then finally, I ended my time with the TCCP through the Pacific Northwest Research Station and the USDA Northwest Climate Hub. so USDA, United States Department of Agriculture Climate Hub, as their Resource Assistance Program intern. And so I was able to stay on 9 months through that. And during my time as a Forest Service intern and with the TCCP, I was able to help write the 25th update to the Northwest Forest Plan Tribal Monitoring Report. And so that allowed me to really look at some good examples of how tribal consultation could be conducted between the Forest Service and then certain tribes here in the state of Oregon. And so I was able to learn a lot about the history of the Northwest Forest Plan, how tribes played a part in it, and why they're such important stakeholders. And so I was also able to go and shadow the Forest Service's Office of Indian Relations Assistant Director at the time in Washington, D.C., which was such an amazing experience. And then upon completion of that internship, I was able to secure a certificate of non-competitive hiring authority, which just I kind of keep in my back pocket now. I'm still eligible for it. So it's just I have that in the future if it seems that, you know, sometimes career paths change, and that's something that I've really learned, that, you know, I just keep pursuing my interests, and I keep ending up really lucky and meeting all these amazing people. And so that's just a little bit about my experience. And now I work with the Beyond Toxics and the NAACP Eugene Springfield, and they're both environmental justice organizations here as a grassroots organizer. And so I went down a different path, as I was saying, just because I was interested in it. And so now I get to serve as the connection between these two different organizations, whereas Beyond Toxics, they're more environmental justice focused, and the NAACP, we're a nationwide organization that focuses on civil rights. And so now I'm expanding my interests. I'm able to work for different communities who are all experiencing disproportionate impacts of climate change, and also able to learn more about just environmental injustices on top of that, and what the intersections are between environmental and climate. And so, I mean, it's been a really interesting experience. I'm so appreciative of all the people I've been able to meet, and I can see so many names here in the participant list that I've been able to connect with in the past couple of years, and I'm really grateful for it. And I think that's as far as I'm going to go, because I'll start to ramble. So thanks, Alyssa.
Thanks, Ailey. Yeah, I really liked what you said about making all of your friends and continuing to network through each of these positions that you're in, and moving those relationships forward. So moving into the next panelist is Amanda Roulard. She's a member of the Santee Sioux Nation from Santee, Nebraska. She's a senior in the Environmental Science program at Haskell Indian Nations University, representing the Haskell Environmental Research Studies, HERS internship. Amanda will be graduating with her bachelor's degree in May, then will continue on to graduate school at Northern Arizona University to study anthropogenic nutrient loading in freshwater systems. She's completed research focused on her tribe's unsafe drinking water. Amanda will be talking about her experience in the Haskell Environmental Research Studies internship program. I'll hand it over to you, Amanda. Oh, you are on mute.
Oh, there we go. Hello, everybody. Good afternoon. Thank you for having me. I'm here to tell you about the HERS internship. It is the Haskell Environmental Research Studies, founded by Dr. Wildcat at Haskell Indian Nations University in partnership with the University of Kansas. The goal of the internship is to help prepare Indigenous college students for graduate school through different writing and GIS skills, as well as a lot of networking, like the previous presenter talked about. Another main goal of the internship is to address and learn about different needs of climate change in relation to tribal management. It is an 8-week paid internship, and you are allowed to develop your own individual project. Mine was studying why my tribe has unsafe drinking water, still does to this day, but through my work with the internship, I am now being involved in the planning process of a new water treatment plant and distribution for the reservation. So that's really exciting. The internship also provides opportunities to go to different conferences and workshops to present. I have been to I don't know how many at this point. I have ACEs, Rising Voices. I was able to present at a EBSCOR MAP symposium. I've talked at the Winnequi Water Summit last summer. Just a lot of opportunities to get out, meet people, network. They also helped provide me with travel and per diem. The internship is every summer here in Lawrence, Kansas. I can provide a link in the website, or a link for the website in the chat in a second here, if you guys want to check it out. The picture you see is the poster that I had made for my research paper. I find that the internship really helped me kind of put together all of the skills I've been learning throughout my education and apply them to something that meant something to me and my family. And so I just think it's a really great opportunity for students to get out there and kind of experience and do some hands-on research that they are passionate about. So it's a great internship. I highly recommend it. With that, I'm going to go ahead and hand it over. If anyone has any questions or anything.
We'll save the questions until after Tiana goes. But yes, please feel free to be posting them in the chat. We will get to them right after Tiana. Thank you so much, Amanda. I definitely appreciate how, you know, sometimes we find that some Indigenous youth have gone, have grown up to, well, have gone through the educational system and then, you know, have gone off to college and do work with other organizations and entities. So it's pretty inspiring to see, you know, you bringing that back to your tribe. So next, yeah, as I mentioned, is Tiana Casey of Wasco, Yakima, Umatilla, and Nez Perce descent, and is a recognized member of the Nez Perce tribe. She's a lifelong advocate for tribal youth, and with the support of the National Indian Education Association, has testified in front of U.S. Congress on behalf of health, safety, and educational rights for youth in federally operated boarding schools. She's been funded by the National Science Foundation in glacial sedimentology and air quality research, as well as through the Wisdom of the Elders and ATNI, Affiliated Tribes Northwest Indians, for tribal climate justice work. She'll be speaking for us today on Nez Perce Tribal Climate Adaptation Project called Kamas to Condors and the opportunities presented by the Northwest Youth Corps Tribal Stewardship Program. Welcome, Tiana.
Thank you. Yes, like you said, I'm a Celilo baby. Most of my family living in Warm Springs. My family's last names are Salam and Greeley, and my roots go all up and down our Inchuana, our Columbia River. And I currently live in Nez Perce or Nimiipuu country, but I'm Warm Springs descent. And yeah, I was asked to be here to share my story and my experiences as one of ATNI's first climate interns and what I do now. So I guess at the end of my 10 years about navigating through college and feeling like so inspired by the sciences, I was also longing for something more meaningful in the work that I do. I was greeted with many open doors at the end of my time at Portland State University because of those various internships, research assistantships, leadership positions I was involved in. And unfortunately, some of those open doors conflicted with my value systems, with Indigenous value systems, such as working with the North Dakota Access Pipeline. The pathway I chose in that moment was to facilitate traditional ecological knowledge, Indigenous science curriculum with Chemawa Indian Boarding School. And yeah, that was basically my gateway into what I do now. And so, so what I do now, it's, I feel like it's a mixed bag, but I'm a board member with the Nez Perce Wallowa Homelands Project. That's a new position that's coming to fruition through the work that I do with the Kamas to Condors Coalition, or partnership with the Blues to Bitterroots Coalition. This is a climate adaptation focused coalition with mostly conservation organizations, and we work most closely with Nez Perce tribe. So I'm very much looking forward to the work that will come out of this new coalition. It's brand new as of this last year. And so even this weekend, we'll be working on climate adaptation, conservation, action. I'm very honored to be sharing this space with so many inspiring folks, both tribal and non-tribal. So bringing in our strongest skill sets and building something that's, that will be meaningful and centered around Indigenous value systems, such as our relationship with the land. And so what I am most excited to talk about, since this is so youth-oriented and it centered around empowering youth, one of our partners with the Camas to Condors partnership is Northwest Youth Corps, and I work very closely with them as a tribal stewardship coordinator to develop and recruit for our tribal stewards programs, which is what you're seeing here on this slide. This year, we will be offering up to 20 positions for tribal youth and young adults to build hands-on experience in stewarding our homelands and helping tribes and federal agencies monitor public lands. And this provides opportunities for these young people in STEM workforce development across the Columbia River Plateau. The tribes that we'll be working most closely with are Warm Springs, Yakima, Umatilla, Burns Paiute, and Nez Perce tribes. So our programs are both restorative to the land and culturally restorative. I'm involved in building curriculum that will be first launched this summer. We have 5-week programs for youth and 8-week programs for young adults. And so, and that's for our members. And then we have 3 open positions for folks with natural resource experience, work experience, or youth programming experience. I'm trying to think what other qualifications, like college students that are pursuing natural resource fields, such as environmental science, forestry, fisheries, geology even, which is one of my main studies, something that I studied in at Portland State University. But I'm excited that we get to offer so many opportunities for our tribal folks that want to go into, doing this type of work. Conservation is so crucial for climate adaptation and building resilient communities. And yeah, if you have any questions about our programming, please feel free to reach out to me. I can put my email in the chat, but it's my first name, Tiana C at nwyouthcorps.org. So I don't know if there are any questions, or I'll let Alyssa go ahead and finish the facilitation here. But thank you so much for this opportunity, and yeah, looking forward to catching up with people. So
thank you so much, Gianna, and all of you guys, or should I say women, and we want to open it up to you guys in the chat. So feel free to either raise your hand and ask a question or throw your question in the chat. I'm not seeing any quite yet, but I'll keep an eye out. First, we'll start by asking Tiana a question, since you just finished up. On your slide, it says that you offer healing pathways in professional spaces. What are some of the best ways that you've found to offer healing pathways in professional spaces? And what kind of actions can we all listening take away that help Indigenous students and young professionals to also bring healing into and through our work?
So I guess I can just go ahead and talk about some of the healing pathways or elaborate on the healing pathways I offer. And just from my own personal experience, when I'm out on the landscape in my homelands with our youth, passing along knowledge of our plants which are descendants who were tended by my ancestors and these youth's ancestors. You know, we can provide deeper context to the medicine and the reciprocity that is happening there, whether, you know, it's a type of food or a tea. You know, we can provide those firsthand experience of how our people and surrounding natural world have coexisted in relationship with each other. And so you feel that shift in the energy of these young people and in myself and the people facilitating as well. And it brings deeper meaning to the very labor intensive conservation work, such as removing invasive species from a camas field, or, you know, collecting 90 pounds of native seed that will be distributed to places such as Hanford nuclear site, which is, you know, a huge issue that all of the treaty tribes are involved in helping our federal agencies manage. And so, and what was the second question?
You pretty much got to it. It's just an extension of the first question about how we can offer healing pathways.
Yeah. So
yeah,
I hope, you know, that brings better context to the programming that will be happening this summer. And yeah, I hope to meet some of these folks that are in this webinar out on the landscape. So if you feel inspired to come out and do some of this work, please, I put my contact information in the chat.
Awesome, thank you. So we do have one from Dominica Zhu. I hope I said your name okay. She says, well, what would you all recommend for those in youth diaspora communities that are distant from their ancestors to connect back to their cultures and prioritize caring for their elders and/or traditional knowledge, namely those who have become heavily westernized? So I think that's for all of you.
I could take that one a little bit, although others are obviously welcome too. So that question is really personal to me. I didn't grow up near my tribe. My family has been, at least my dad and his generation have moved away from Northern California. So for me, the tribal youth program was really special in that way, to get to go back to the land and meet so many family members who I had never met before, people who knew my grandparents, and the people I was able to meet, both my age, my friends, and the mentors, and just community members. There are people who now I'm still in contact with today. That has kind of influenced, you know, everything I've done going forward. And that really wouldn't have been possible without these kind of tribal youth programs. And just because maybe a youth, you know, lives in an urban area or lives far away from their tribe, there's always opportunities to invite people back in. Even older folks, you know, it doesn't always have to be youth. You know, it's never too late to kind of rebuild those connections, I would say. I don't know if anyone else has any thoughts on that, but.
Yeah, I would definitely second that. I think I have a similar story to you, Darcy, and I think this internship and through other programs that I got involved with in college, it really, I think through meeting people was really the best avenue for that. And that's why the internships are helpful, because you can just get so connected, like we've all been touching on.
Thanks, you guys. We do have another question. How can non-Indigenous youth learn from and/or get connected and inspired by the amazing work of these Indigenous youth leaders? Non-Indigenous youth. Does anyone want to take that one?
I learned about my internship opportunity through an instructor at school. I was taking Ichishkin language class. And so it was through word of mouth. But I think if I had realized that internships like this were out there, I would have been a little more proactive in searching them out. I think the information is available. I think I didn't realize that it existed before that.
And that kind of leads into the next question too. How did you learn about these opportunities coming from Coral Avery? Where can other Indigenous youth look to learn more about high school, college, or other internship programs?
I can speak a little to that just coming from my own experience. I know I connected closely to our Native American Studies program and their professors at the University of Oregon. Also, you know, just connecting with our longhouse and our longhouse steward on campus, and then working really closely with our education coordinator over at the Eugene Slet's office. And so some of us are kind of lucky to have a Slet's office or a tribal office near us. So we have that service office that I can go to for resources, but it's really, you kind of have to be proactive if you don't have those connections, and you actually just have to go look online now. But I think the way that we're able to communicate with each other now, I really think it's opened up a lot more opportunities, because we can work from home, or I can work in another state through Zoom. And so that's kind of how my Forest Service internship was set up. I worked in Eugene, but I worked for the Salish Kootenai College in partnership with the Pacific Northwest Research Station, which is in Portland. And so we were able to get a little creative with that. But yeah, I would just say you have to be a little proactive in looking, or just connect with your education coordinator at your, whether or not you're a descendant or you're an enrolled member.
Yeah, I'll second that, Haley. At Colorado State, they had a Native American something or other program office. And so going in there, they had so many different resources for tribal students to get connected. And yeah, I mean, just like talking to people also, as you mentioned, and making those friendships and seeing what they've done, and yeah, just making connections and maintaining those connections, seeing people's different pathways, just word of mouth has a lot of impact. There's another question. Let's see, how are we doing on time? Actually, we'll do this last one here, and then we'll hand it over for closing. But okay, it comes from Rebecca, and I'm not sure what the last name is. Oh, Dick Holmes. Can you give advice to youth and share your experience with dealing with imposter syndrome? That's a good one. Oh, an extension of that question. Some youth don't believe they are the right person or have enough information and or knowledge.
I can say something on that. That just working so closely with youth, I definitely see that too. And one way that I've been able to inspire those young people is to show them that, you know, depending on the youth that I work most closely with right now are tribal youth from the 4 treaty tribes here along the Columbia River Plateau. And those young people are like specially positioned to building those intimate relationships with the land, and having that knowledge, especially if they know the language around those plant species, or, you know, that plant, like our language evolved with the landscape. And, you know, this is why it's so important for us to be doing cultural restoration while doing land management and working so intimately with the natural landscape, because so much more can be explained. Our language is so expansive. Like sometimes our one word can be translated into a full paragraph to try to understand what that relationship is. Like perhaps, you know, it describes the plant community that is around that plant. And so now we know that that plant community is vital to the survival and the existence of that plant in that environment. And so like These are the types of things that we should be helping youth to see, and also build skills on if they haven't been raised in homes where they were able to learn those things. And so always having cultural restoration and getting involved in learning your culture is going to be huge as you're pursuing natural resource fields.
Great, thanks, Tiana. That was perfect. Great answer. Okay, thank you guys again so much for your time, and you all did an amazing job talking about all of these youth opportunities. So thank you so much. In closing, I'd like to say that these opportunities are out there. So let's get the word out to strengthen the next generation and give ourselves, and give even those who came before us hope for a future where we're able to reflect our spiritual relationship with Mother Earth and one another through our work in our lives. Don, I'll hand it back over to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Lisa. Great. What a great panel. Amazing. I'm so proud of all of them. Danae, Darcy, Tiana, Amanda, Haley. You guys are really inspiring. And I know that there's a young generation of young women leaders who are coming up, and they're going to use you as a role model. So I want to thank the folks that also hosted you, and some of them are on here. Rose Hyberg, good to see you. Thank you for Wisdom of the Elders. Laura Gephardt at Critfic. John Minkowski with the Northwest Cooperative Landscape Cooperative, and Keith Hatch at the BIA. So without them and that partnership, these programs, as well as the BIA, thank you so much, Lisa, and for those programs. And as mentioned, funding is now open. This is your opportunity, tribes, intertribal organizations, and others to do this work.